Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. 18 days left in the season. Of course, we're going to end this on a quiet note. We've got all the cold fronts that have been working their way down through the southeast, through the Gulf, down into the Caribbean now. And these are the areas that you would typically watch for something this time of the year. But conditions, obviously, with all the cold air in place, are just not conducive for any kind of development. So looking back, remember beginning part of this season early on, that forecast from Colorado State looking at 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, major hurricanes, and then they started to trail off on some of those numbers down to 16, 8, and 3 for the numbers. Compare that to the average. They were still looking for a little bit of an above average season, but now you look at where we've been so far, 13 named storms, 5 of those becoming hurricanes and 4 major hurricanes. So all in all, it's a little bit of a below average season, but it's also a lesson that these numbers, they can always be a little confusing because yes, we were below average just by the numbers, but we saw a very impactful season for some areas and an interesting season because we had a number of named storms, but when they became hurricanes, they more than likely became a major hurricane. So it was more of an all or nothing with this season, either becoming a major hurricane or it basically stayed a tropical storm. So quite interesting with that. But now you look at the names and with the tracks, and it was also very interesting to see how we had so many of these storms following that same basic pattern, turning out in the Atlantic and recurving right around that Bermuda high. And so it was very quiet across the Gulf and it was very quiet across the Caribbean until we had Melissa. Late season storm, started out very slow, but also because of that very slow movement with the storm, it allowed it to really tap a lot of that energy that was still sitting down across the Caribbean. Now you look at the big wide view right now, nothing at all going on. So we don't expect to see any tropical formation over the next 7 days. In fact, not really expecting to see any tropical formation all the way until the end of the hurricane season, which is on November 30th. Of course, we'll keep you updated right here on myfoxhurricane.com.